may be looking for the perfect monitor. While the studio display is not the cheapest, does it make it up through stunning technology and amazing design features? Or is it just another overpriced Apple gimmick? So I've been using the Apple Studio display for the past year. The reason why I upgraded was because color accuracy is very important to me for what I do for work as a marketing manager. Here's my thoughts on color accuracy. Because when you're looking for a monitor, typically you'll see like 98% RGB or sRGB or Rec 709, and they give different accuracy numbers, which are all great, but here's my thoughts on color accuracy and why I chose this monitor. We live in a day of digital interfaces, and most of the time people are looking at digital assets on their phone. And when I go to our website's Google Analytics, I can see what type of devices people are using. And surprisingly or not, the number one device people are using is an iPhone. So when I think of color accuracy, I think about what am I seeing on the monitor and how close is that going to match an iPhone. So to me, it makes sense that an Apple monitor is going to look the closest to an iPhone. While there is a difference in displays between the Studio display, the MacBook Pro, and your iPhone, overall they match up pretty similar. So for the price point, that was a big deal for me, was the color accuracy. Blacks could be better compared to the MacBook Pro, where you get these nice, rich, complete blacks. But unless you're watching HDR content where you have a very black screen, you're probably not going to notice that very often. Most of the time, I have white in the background, so that blackness doesn't matter. And there's actually one thing that I love about this Studio display that the Pro XDR display does not even have. And that comes in at $5,000, and it doesn't have this feature. And that is, the Studio display gets to a peak brightness of 600 nits for standard definition, compared to 500 nits, which doesn't seem like a lot, only 100 nits more. But when you're comparing them side by side between a monitor, that extra 100 nits makes a huge difference. If you think about it, that is 20% brighter than the other displays out there. And that difference is fantastic. And I don't know about you, but I'm usually not looking at HDR content all day. Usually it's standard definition. So that extra 100 nits of brightness makes a huge difference when I'm looking at the screen all day long. And it is a 5K monitor, so Apple likes to try to stay within that 280 pixels per inch. So when you go up to the next size, which is 32 inches, that's a 6K monitor, so it can still keep that 218 pixels. It has True Tone, which will adjust the lighting based upon your ambient lighting. To be honest, I turn that off and I never use it. But on occasion, I may turn on night shift when I'm working late, just taking notes, and I want to have an easier time falling asleep at night. The next thing I love is the ports on the back. I like to keep a very minimalist and clean setup on my desk, and I love that the Thunderbolt port will plug into my MacBook Pro and charge it, but also connect to the visual and interface that way. And then at the same time, you can use the 3 USB-C ports in the back to plug in additional things. So right now I have my iPad Pro connected to the monitor, and every time I plug in my computer, it automatically connects to my iPad Pro. So another way you can use those USB-Cs is use an external hard drive. So on my computer, I currently have 2 terabytes, and I find that I fill it up pretty quickly when I'm doing a lot of video. So my next purchase is going to be an external hard drive that's fast enough for me to edit videos off of, but that I can always keep connected to my monitor, and that way it's just a seamless connection between my laptop connecting to the Studio display, and then it connects all my other devices all at one time. So I love that it's a very clean setup, which goes in perfectly to another thing why I love the Studio display. It really is quite a statement piece on the desk. While it's a 27-inch monitor, it has these thick bezels that take up more room, and this metal enclosure, it looks fantastic. And every time I walk into the room, I see that monitor right away. It does look good, and it adds to the desk setup, which I'm working at every day because I do work from home as well. So probably the most ridiculous part about the monitor is if you want the ability to go up and down with the monitor, you gotta pay an extra $400 for that height adjustable stands. And the reason why I spent the money on that is because I'm 6'4", primarily torso, so I sit pretty high at the desk. And for me, I wanted to make sure I had good posture, but at the same time, I didn't want a monitor stand that would take away from the minimalist aesthetic. So if that is important to you, you may want to look at spending the extra $400. But if it's not, just buy a cheap stand for it to sit on and you should be fine. After doing this review, I feel like aesthetics is a big thing for me, because another thing I love is you get amazing audio speakers in the monitor itself that are right in front of you, and you don't need additional speakers on the side to get great audio quality. Granted, you could probably get better sounds if you did have dedicated speakers, but these sound great. I remember getting the laptop, the MacBook Pro, and I thought the speakers on that were so good. But then I used the speakers on this monitor, and boy, they were so much better and way more enveloping, and it just sounds great when you're using the speakers. So if I'm doing video conference calls, which I do a lot, it sounds great right here. It has a great microphone I can talk into. It's just a great experience instead of having the sound off to the side of my laptop. It just works great. So if you've seen any of the reviews on the Studio Display when it first came out, the biggest critique I got was the webcam. They chose an ultra-wide webcam so you can use center stage, which I never use, instead of a standard focal length, which they have in their laptop. And because of that, it just didn't look as crisp or as detailed as the laptop itself. But I think they've done some updates on the monitor itself, because now it looks just as good as the laptop to me. I've compared it back and forth. Actually, last night, I was comparing it and I couldn't really notice a dramatic difference. Still, on your phone is a better camera on here. So if you really do want a better monitor experience, you could have your phone up here and use the new function where you can use your phone as a webcam. But for what I use it for, which is video conference calls on Zoom, Google Meets, or any other meeting I'm going on, this webcam works great. I don't need the fanciest high definition, crisp webcam for video calls. I just need something they can see me. Be honest, it looks better than most of the other webcams of people that I'm interacting with. Can't complain about the webcam. It works good for what it is, and they keep doing updates on it. So no complaints here anymore. So to be honest, when I first got the monitor, the wow factor diminished pretty quickly. It's a monitor. It's not a computer of all these features. So I think a biggest drawback for me was I had a 28-inch monitor before. So going to a 27-inch felt a lot smaller, even though it was 1-inch difference. So here's my thoughts. If Apple could make the Studio Display with 32 inches with 6K, so they would have that 218 pixels per inch, which Apple likes, keep the 600 nits, but don't add the HDR, keep the speakers and the webcam, I think that would be an amazing monitor. So is this monitor worth $1,600? And my answer would be yes, because if you're looking to get a color accurate monitor, you can easily spend over $2,000. So for that price range, while you get the speakers, the webcam, the great look, and everything else this monitor has to offer, I think it is a great value. And if you want to watch more videos on how technology can benefit your life, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to watch another video on an Apple app that can make you more productive and get more out of your everyday work, make sure to watch this video right here. And with that, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.